as far as like generally, I think culture between like Vancouver City and at least what I was used to here in the States, it's pretty similar. Um, both are very driven. We want to be successful. We want to do our best. Um, to be frank, make money, do well in our professions and everything. I think that's common between both. One thing I feel like I noticed as far as culture goes is maybe Vancouver's like a little more lax. There's a lot, and sometimes members would think differently, but at least us as missionaries felt like there's at least like one holiday a month, so I don't know what they would say to that, but I definitely noticed that. People are very friendly, or I thought in Canada, they talk to us a lot. One thing though, as far as like religion goes, people weren't as open to the idea as they might be here in the States. And maybe that's just from like the difference of founding, we're a country built on the idea of like one nation under God. And a lot of people that I met in Canada didn't really like have that same background. So here you might hear like celebrities that never go to church or anything like that say like, "Oh, I'm grateful that God led me here or God's given me this career." I don't think you hear that as much up in Canada. I don't know why exactly that is. That's just one of the things that I did notice as far as culture goes. In Vancouver City, traffic is unreal sometimes. And so most people try to get by just taking public transit. The bus system is very, very good. If we ever wanted more people to teach, and I served in a YSA that covered 2 states. It was a huge YSA. And we knew all the YSA people didn't drive to school. We knew that they took the bus. So we would sometimes just buy bus tickets for a day, hop on the bus and just talk to people at public transit. And it was so busy. It was a lot of fun. So I think people do that to avoid the traffic, to be honest, because if I lived in Vancouver, I wouldn't want to deal with some of the traffic I got stuck in every day because it was unreal. Food is delicious. I loved eating. One of my favorite foods is sushi. So anyone who loves sushi here in the States like doesn't even know what real or like good sushi tastes like until they go to Vancouver, because it's unreal how delicious it is. I'll have to admit I spent a lot of money eating sushi. If we ever ate out, I could get like 3 rolls of sushi for $8. And if I went to go to like a fast food and get like a burger combo, it would cost the same thing. So in my mind, I would just rationalize that like, of course I'm going to go eat sushi instead of eat out at like McDonald's. So I really enjoyed that. I just spoke to some people that are from my mission. We talked for a while 2 weeks ago, and she actually mentioned to me that the Canadian dollar and the US dollar right now are pretty much the same. So I don't think there's a very big difference. Living though, like living expenses are way higher in Vancouver. Their minimum wage, mind you, is also significantly higher. I think it's like 11 or 12 bucks compared to here, which is like 7.50. So there's a difference there. I think everything, cost of living is fairly expensive. Some of the apartments that we lived in weren't very nice, but they were still close to like $1,000 a month. So that is one thing to know. Everything is more expensive. Even like milk is something that I gave up on my mission because it was just too expensive and I didn't want to buy it every week. Flip that, fish though, like if I wanted to get like a fillet of salmon, like a nice big one, I could get 2 for $7. So I learned how to eat fish on my mission, and I know how to cook salmon, I think fairly well. But other things that I was used to growing up with, I didn't eat as much of, or I didn't buy as much because it was more expensive. Ooh, crime and safety, that's a funny one. There's like, don't get me wrong, so you're gonna find crime anywhere you go. So I could specifically think of one city, and all my mission companions and anyone watching this that served in my mission will know exactly what city I'm talking about. That was pretty sketchy. But other than that, honestly, like, I don't remember hearing a lot of crime things about my mission. A funny note, I remember serving in Victoria the 5 months I was there. Obviously, we're not watching CNN or the news or anything like that. Any news we would hear would just be from members or like the front page of the paper sitting on someone's doorstep. And I think the most like preposterous or outrageous news story I heard the whole time I was in Victoria was like a city council debate on whether or not a certain road in Victoria should have a sidewalk or not. So that's kind of a stark contrast between where I'm from and where I grew up. There is a lot of crime where I'm from in California, and a lot of like murders and things like that. So typically when you watch the news, you hear at least like one or two things about that. But up there, again, I never watched the news, but if this front page paper that was everywhere for a few months is any indicator, then I think Vancouver is a fairly safe place, and missionaries going there probably don't need to worry very much about their physical safety. And I think that's a blessing. I think mothers would appreciate that a lot. I know my mom did, so that was a good thing for her. Businesses and stuff, I don't know a whole lot. I know there are a lot of members there who were like retired CEOs of companies or running their own like businesses of different sorts. I noticed one thing is that as like media arts was really popular in Vancouver. A lot of businesses would help other companies create like advertisements or web design or things like that. A lot of people get into that. I think that's offered at some of the schools in British Columbia. So fairly easy for people to get into that and then make a living off of it. So I saw that a lot. As far as everything else, I think is pretty much the same as what we experience here.